Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the City Council meeting of Rancho Mirage with the Library Board, Housing Authority Board, and the City Council representing the Redevelopment Successor Agency. And this is Thursday, August 28th, and it is 1 o'clock. So we will start off, first of all, with our flag salute, and our wonderful Finance Director, Isaiah Hagerman, will lead us in that.
Please rise. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Isaiah. And Cindy, will you please call roll?
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Hobart?
Here.
Councilmember Kite?
Here.
Councilmember Townsend?
Here.
Councilmember Weil?
Here.
Mayor Smartridge?
Here. Okay. We are all here, and we're going to start off today with some wonderful presentations. And I think I will go on to Kim. And are you going to be saying a few words about the Citizens on Patrol? And if maybe you can just say a few words, or if Britt wants to come up and say a few words.
While he's making his way up here.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. Today is a really special anniversary, and Britt will explain a little bit more along with the mayor's presentation. I had the good fortune to work with these volunteers over the last couple of years until recently. And from my experience working with Citizens on Patrol, the administrative services, and I know the rest of the departments within the City Hall would like to thank you for your service. And I don't want to take too much from Britt, so Britt, take it away.
Thank you. Don't really have much to add. The cops have been around since '94. They're here today for two reasons, one of which is to give a periodic status update on the program itself, and that will be led by Captain Terry Goodale. And then we do want to recognize their 20 years of service to this community. I've been the staff liaison for the past year, and they are a wonderful group to work with. They provided a lot of good service to the city. They provided security coverage here at City Hall, or ambassadorship coverage, if you will, during the presidential visits and that type of thing. They do a lot of traffic work. They stand out on the streets for hours in accidents, sometimes till 1 or 2 in the morning. I know one of the cops the other day said they burned through a whole box of flares at an accident, so they're very busy. And anyway, with that, turn it back to you, Mayor, and to invite Captain Goodale up.
Well, it is my pleasure. So you all look wonderful. We're so glad that you could be here. We have a whole assortment of gentlemen here that take great pride in the jobs they do for our city. So how about if I give you the microphone and you can start first?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Terry Goodale, and I'd like to kind of give you a little update on. Do I talk into?
You can talk there. Okay, either one.
Okay, let me use this one. Ah, that's better, yeah. And we'll give you an update on our status. In the first 6 months of the year, we've got 965 shift hours that were volunteered. And there was 10,810 miles driven throughout the city, 81 incident reports. We now have 30 active members. But right now in the realm, we have 4 people that are being processed at this present time, volunteers. We've had a very good outgo of coming in of new volunteers. It's good for us. Out of those, 6 members have 10 years or more service with the Rancho Mirage cops. 7 members with 5 years or more of service with the cops. And I just want to mention, which Britt had mentioned, the presidential visit. And I want to thank all of my colleagues here as well. At the presidential incident here, we stepped forward and donated 160 volunteer hours. We got notified about 24 hours in advance, which probably for us is a good thing because we don't remember too far ahead. So I think that might have been a plus for us. But the sheriff's department didn't get notified. I don't think anybody got notified until the last minute. And to have these folks step up and put in that many hours in a 5-day period, I thought was fantastic. And I'd mentioned that, I don't know if I did mention active members. We also have what we consider inactive members, which about 3 years ago, I don't know if most of you may remember Bill Borden, our outgoing captain. And Bill and I talked about it, and he came up with what we called a senior cops program. And what that consisted of was the qualification to get in the senior cops program was 5 years as a volunteer with the Rancho Mirage Cops program, and nomination and approval by the Rancho Mirage Cops officers and city liaison. Benefits of this program was a membership in senior cops for life. There's no minimum number of volunteer hours required. These senior cops do not go on patrols. They may go as a ride-along party, being careful not to participate in incidents. Senior cops may not hold officers' positions, but they may attend all regular meetings of the Rancho Mirage Cops. Although not voting memberships, their input will always be considered. Senior cops will not retain their uniform, but may keep their caps, badges, whistles, and name tags. Senior cops are welcome at all social functions of the cops. Right now, Britt is putting together with some of his staff, I believe, to come up with certificates for these folks, and we will be getting those to them. And I think with that being said, I just want to thank everybody at the City Council. Everybody involved in the city have been so supportive of our group, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll come around over here because we do have a proclamation to give to you. And I had mentioned that we had a number of spiffily dressed gentlemen here, but now we have a lady also here. And we're so proud that we have all of you participating for the safety of all of our residents. So, that being said, yes, sir?
I would like not to be the one to accept this. I would like someone else to accept this if I could.
Absolutely.
Cal Custer. Cal has been with the program for 20 years. It may take him a minute.
Welcome, Cal. And it's obviously been a wonderful 20 years that have agreed with you dramatically, and we're so pleased that you could serve our city the way you have. And how about if I give you the microphone and you can say a few words?
Well, I sure didn't know that I had to say anything today. I thought I was either going to get fired or or get a plaque. So yeah, 20 years with the cops. It is completely different then than it is now. We started off as a group of people from the Emergency Preparedness Committee that ramrodded the first organization, and we used city vehicles in the evening, went out from 5 in the evening till 11. Some people stayed out till probably 2 in the morning, but not me, very seldom. So it was different then. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And if I might read this proclamation, it is honoring Rancho Mirage Citizens on Patrol Services, otherwise known as COPS, for their 20th anniversary, 2014. And it says, whereas Rancho Mirage Citizens on Patrol Services was established in 1994 with the mission and goal of serving as the eyes and ears of the Rancho Mirage Police Department and Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and whereas COPS is comprised of volunteers who are trained in non-confrontational matters, including various aspects of police surveillance, reporting procedures, traffic control, CPR, first aid, and emergency preparedness. And whereas COPS provide a presence in the community that is a deterrent to crime by providing a high degree of visibility and random daily patrols averaging approximately 800 hours per month. That's quite monumental. And whereas COPS also provides services to stranded motorists by providing aid and assistance to the motorists, and whereas COPS has provided traffic control and other assistance during United States presidential visits and other community-wide events, and whereas Rancho Mirage COPS is celebrating its 20th anniversary in 2014, now therefore I, Iris M. Smotrich, Mayor of the City of Rancho Mirage, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby recognize and honor Rancho Mirage COPS 20th anniversary. And we celebrate with you, and we hope to celebrate for another 20 or 40 or 60 years. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. And we have another proclamation that we're going to be giving to Laura Meeks from Rancho Mirage, and she's going to be saying a few words. And she's also coming up with Anna Meeks, her daughter, as well as George Zander, who is the T-Door board member. So come on up, and we have a few other people. Come on down.
Toby's coming up. And
Okay. And we have a photo taker.
we have a photo taker.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Oh. Well, come on in. All right. Well, why don't I give the... We can do that later, too. Okay, let me give the microphone to you, Laura, and you say a few words.
Okay, great. I appreciate the time. I've a few quick remarks. First off, I'd like to thank you, Mayor Smotrich. And okay, is that better? Okay. I'd just like to thank you, Mayor Smotrich, and the City Council for taking the time and the effort to make this proclamation today. I feel that the government does have a certain role in these sorts of things, and this proclamation, I think, will enhance the safety of those members of our community who are a little gender variant and make the community members a little bit more aware that diversity is a strength. And I do think that America is stronger with a diverse set of ideas. I am the resident or a resident of Rancho Mirage. I live here with my wife Annie and my daughter here, Shelley, her husband, and her husband's mother. So we have like a whole little community thing going on here in Rancho Mirage. My wife and I are both retired U.S. Air Force officers, and we have followed that career with a second career in consulting. So we are still working hard here in Rancho Mirage. During my career, I have found that people can change if they can understand issues. And the gender community has faced its share of challenges. Transgender Day of Remembrance, which you'll hear about in a second, is a special day set aside every year on the 20th of November. And it is set aside to remember those lives that were needlessly lost because their only crime, and that was being different. So we stop every year on the 20th just to take a moment to remember those people. So we appreciate your support of this important day, and we look forward to when it is no longer needed. So thank you and the council.
Thank you so much. So, another proclamation to read with great pleasure. This is honoring Transgender Day of Remembrance, November 20th, 2014, whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance is recognized locally and nationally on November 20th of every year, and whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance was founded in 1998 by Gwendolyn Ann Smith, who was recognized for her hard work and dedication to ending violence against transgender and gender nonconforming people in America. And whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance is a vigil to memorialize those who have been victims of violence, discrimination, and transphobia, which is the hatred or fear of transgender and gender nonconforming people, and serves to bring public awareness and education to the continued violence endured by the transgender community. And whereas the City of Rancho Mirage recognizes that all people, including transgender people, deserve peace and respect over hate, and the city supports efforts to eradicate violence against the LGBT community, and whereas the 20th of November is recognized in the City of Rancho Mirage as Transgender Day of Remembrance and the right to equality for the City of Rancho Mirage transgender community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Iris M. Smotrich, Mayor of the City of Rancho Mirage of California, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim in the City of Rancho Mirage Transgender Day of Remembrance, November 20th, 2014. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm George Zander, and I'm with Equality California, which has been around the state of California for 15 years, working on LGBT human rights and discrimination issues. This is thrilling that we're here in Rancho Mirage accepting this proclamation. And I just wanted to invite council, staff, and Your Honor to the event, which is November 20th. It is in Palm Springs, which is not too far away, at Francis Stevens Park in the evening. And we will have representatives from all the cities. We're actually getting proclamations from every city in the Coachella Valley for this event. And this is a crucial time, especially now, because transgender people are starting to emerge from the shadows that they've been in, with popular media, sports stars, and political folks being on the side of non-discrimination for transgender people. So we welcome this, and thank you again so much, Your Honor, for this proclamation.
Well, I thank you all. Okay, and we have one last proclamation, and that is going to be presented to Richard Perry and Ron Cochran. So if they could come up. Perhaps you'd like to say a few words first?
Thank you very much. We're here today to spark this country of ours. It started last year. It's the 2014 National Discover Your Optimal Health Day. And it started last year, and we want to continue it this year. I've got a few comments here, if you don't mind. My wife and I, Shauna, are certified health coaches here in Rancho Mirage. We're very proud of that. We've had long dealings with the city before, and we know most everybody here, and they know us as well. Obesity in America is a national crisis, and it doesn't take much to look around and realize that 67% of our population is either overweight or obese. And it's even worse in our children's population. That's 200 million Americans that need to do something to improve their health. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Last year, we had thousands and thousands of health coaches throughout the country. Ron's going to address what they actually accomplished. I will say that looking around, looking at the dais and everybody else, we have a pretty healthy-looking city council, wouldn't you say? And everybody looks really good. And we are also going to go to every city and have every city in the valley. But I will say this, you are the first to issue this proclamation, and we're very proud of that, too. So with that said, I want you to know you're joining with over 17,000 health coaches in the United States and thousands of people that are going to walk on September 6th, which is the National Discover Your Optimal Health Day. And we're asking everybody to walk with us a little bit, as much as you can. We're very, very grateful that the library in Rancho Mirage, our beautiful library, has agreed to let us join their Walk with the Stars program on that morning between 9 and 11. That's September 6th between 9 and 11. And they have a wonderful walking path that's cool for the seniors and everybody there. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity. We're going to get as many people there as we can. But we appreciate that cooperation very much. May I turn this over to Ron?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Dick. I, too, am a certified health coach and also am president of the Desert Diabetes Club at Eisenhower. And in both roles, it's become painfully apparent to me that awareness and action are two of the most important things in improving the health of our community and our country. As Dick said, last year, we had thousands of people walking, and they pledged to walk a minimum of 1 mile. And as a result, they walked almost 19,000 miles, which is the equivalent of crossing the country back and forth 6 times. It's 6 times across the country, 1 mile at a time, one individual at a time. So it is so important. Diabetes, as my role as president of the Diabetes Club, can be directly attributed in many cases to obesity and being overweight. So anything that we can do in establishing awareness in the community is something that we cherish and we actually do live for. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. All right, so I will go on with the reading of the proclamation. It's honoring National Discover Your Optimal Health Day, September 4th, 2014. Whereas our nation is experiencing one of the worst epidemics in its history, current statistics show that 2/3 of adults aged 20 or older are overweight or obese, and obesity is fast approaching tobacco as the top underlying preventable cause of death in the USA. And whereas the largest cause of illness in America is obesity, which greatly contributes to diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and countless other preventable diseases, the key to addressing this epidemic lies with intervention as well as prevention, and the time is now to start developing health habits that will help reserve the effects of this epidemic on our society. And whereas Take Shape Up for Life and its team of health coaches across the country will mobilize today to individually and collectively commit to inspiring a nation to seek optimal health, believing that the journey starts with one step, one habit, and one day at a time. And whereas the National Discover Your Optimal Health Day will be celebrated in cities throughout America on September 4th, 2014, now therefore be it resolved that I, Iris M. Smotrich, Mayor of the City of Rancho Mirage, California, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim in the City of Rancho Mirage, Discover Your Optimal Health Day, September 4th, 2014. And I have to tell you, I take particular pride in the program that we now have at our library, Walking with the Stars. My husband and I get over there a couple times a week. I can't tell you how many people thank us for providing a safe, cool, dust-free, heat-free environment, and a way to meet new people, a way to get into shape. And I've seen many, many people there with their walkers, with their healthcare providers alongside of them. And a number of people have even come with their therapy pets. So we've even had dogs walking with people. So it's for everyone. And we're just so thrilled to get people off their chairs, away from their screens, and out into a healthier way of life. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. We all appreciate it. Thank you. Okay.
I might mention while the mayor is coming back to the dais that Dick and his wife Shauna have been involved with the city a long time. Probably if you showed a before and after of you and Shauna, that would be the most effective. Shauna was a major contributor and a member of the Planning Commission for many years. She made an incredible contribution, and we miss her, but we know she's around. But thanks for all the work you're now doing.
Thank you all so much for coming and for honoring us with your presence and the work that you do. So now we will move on to the next item, which is non-agenda public comments. And this is an opportunity for the public to speak on issues that are not on the agenda for the maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. So first I would like to call up Richard Perry. We're already set with you. Okay. Okay, well, you filled out a card, so we were going to be doubly efficient. Okay, next is Ken Wagner, who is the wonderful principal of our wonderful Rancho Mirage High School.
Well, hello again. We're back for our second year of Rancho Mirage High School. We're already in our second week. I wanted to come back and touch bases with you again this year. If you remember, we only had 9th and 10th graders last year. And so we're growing up a little bit. This year we've welcomed our juniors, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And one of the things that you would have heard me say all along was 9th and 10th graders need a little growing up before we start moving them into the community. Well, so this year we have hired Rose Gonzalez as our work-based learning educator. And so you're going to see her around in the city a lot. I wanted to bring her here to introduce you to, but she's going to really be working with the businesses to try to align opportunities for our students to come out and volunteer, get internships, get jobs, and then for all the community also to be able to come into the school and present to our students and work with our students as mentors or peers to them. So it's an important part of our school growing up and our students becoming juniors and seniors and preparing more for the career life. So I wanted to bring her here today to introduce her. This is Rose Gonzalez. So
Welcome.
the other thing that I came today, so at the end of last year, we at the State of the City, you got to get a glimpse into all of the accomplishments that we had last year. And, you know, every year the school is documented by its yearbook. So I thought it important that all of you had a copy of the Rancho Mirage's first yearbook. So we brought one for you today.
Oh, how great.
Of course, you won't get any more work done today because you'll spend all the rest of the afternoon.
But it'll be fun looking through. See all your accomplishments. Actually, there should be a picture of Richard in there with his Letterman jacket. Maybe next year, Richard. Right, go Rattlers. Thank you so much, Ken.
Will you sign it?
Catch me later, and I will, of course. But last year, we got such tremendous support from the city. So this is just a token appreciation, and you were a big part of it. A big part of welcoming our students into the community and being a part of some of the events that occurred last year with the Rammy Awards in the State of the City. And so we will continue offering our students up to events as they will in our performing arts program and everything that's happening with the school. So first Friday night game, football game this weekend or this Friday. Coachella Valley's coming out to us for our first home game at the varsity level. And then next Friday, we play Cathedral City over at their school. So we're ready to go this year. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Go Rattlers.
Go Rattlers.
Yes. Okay. Next, we will have Jeffrey Baum from Sunnylands. And Jeffrey is coming, I believe, with Eric. And we'll hear a few little updates from both of them.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Mayor Smotrich and Mayor Pro Tem Hobart and members of the City Council. First, I just have to say, I love seeing the proclamations and to see that how the city both cares about the health of its citizens, celebrates the diversity of the community, and honors the volunteers who serve, just shows what a great city this is and how proud we are to be based here in Rancho Mirage. So I wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
My name's Jeffrey Baum. I'm the Director of Communications and Public Affairs for the Annenberg Foundation Trust at Sunnylands. And we wanted to just give you an update. We're about to reopen and have just two quick announcements. And I also wanted to introduce Eric Ornelas, who works as a colleague of mine in the Communications and Public Affairs. And he's going to talk about how to get tickets for opening day.
Okay.
Yes, as you know, we've been closed since the end of June to the public, but we are reopening in September, on September 25th. The Center and Gardens will once again be open to the public, free of charge. Folks can come and walk the gardens, have lunch in the cafe. They can check out some of the exhibitions. Tickets for the Historic House Tour will go on sale on September 1st at 9 a.m. on our website, sunnylands.org. And those first tickets that go on sale will be for the last week of September. And the cost for the tickets this season will be $40 per person, and it's a guided 90-minute tour. So we're getting ready to open again, and we hope to see you all.
And for those who cannot wait, I'm going to make a first official public announcement. I don't know if you know, but there's more than 600 olive trees on the estate. And traditionally in the past, the olive trees create a lot of mess. And the tradition had been to treat the trees so that the fruit wouldn't bloom. We're actually changing that in a spirit of trying to support sustainability and showing more about the process. So what we're doing on September 13th, if somebody didn't want to wait till September 25th, they can get behind the pink wall to help with the first public harvest of the olive trees at Sunnylands. We're going to be posting information next week on the website about how to register. And then we're going to send the olives to a bottling company, a processor in Ojai, California. And then later this fall, you'll be able to buy the first edition vintage of Sunnylands olive oil. And so I just wanted to let you know about that, and we'll be sharing more information in about a week.
Thank you. What a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, thank you
so-
very much, and
so
we look
for-
forward to seeing you all this fall.
Absolutely, or picking olives.
Absolutely. Thank
All right. Sounds like a fun field trip. Okay. Now we have, as a last person who has filled out a yellow sheet, Brad Anderson.
Hello, my name is Brad Anderson. I'm from the city of Rancho Mirage, and I'm sorry to take up your time. I acted premature on this topic today, and I'm not prepared to talk about it. So thank you. Sorry about that. On the
Okay.
next meeting, I will be.
Okay.
I was
then we'll
unable to get the information I needed. Thank you.
Okay, we will see you at the next meeting. Okay, is there anyone out there in the audience that did not have a chance to fill out a yellow sheet and would like to come up to speak or address an item that's not on our agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comments and move on to our minutes and the approval of our minutes. This is of the special meeting of July 31st. Okay. Oh, before we go on to that, yes, thank you. I was only fooling. We're going to go on to city council comments. So, Richard, did you have anything to say?
No special comment, just make sure everybody comes out tomorrow night to the first varsity football game for Rancho Mirage High School. And it should be a great event. And then the following week, as Ken said, there's really going to be a city rivalry beginning when Rancho Mirage plays Cathedral City. So that's 7 o'clock tomorrow night for Coachella Valley versus Rancho Mirage. See you there. Go Rattlers.
There you go.
Thank you, Richard. Dana,
I
is there
just want to say, if I may, I'm sorry, Dana, that this is my first August, which we're supposed to be on vacation. This has been the busiest August of my life.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to say.
You're probably not alone. Okay. Dana, did you have any comments?
I did. This fine day, instead of having some dogs live, we have some dogs for you via photographs and a little story that goes with it. A professional photographer named Nora Levine took a series of photographs of homeless people who have their dogs with them. The importance of having a pet in your life made all the more vivid in 5 of her photographs. We will furnish you with her email webpage at the end of this presentation. Check her out. You will be rewarded if you do. Her photographs remind us that regardless of one's circumstances, our quality of life is simply better when you share it with a dog or cat. Nora Levine created a photographic series she called Lifelines to honor the bond between members of the homeless community and their pets. Some people think they are too old to adopt a dog or cat, or that their living quarters are too small, but that is just not true. The solution may be to adopt an older pet. Their adoption rate is staggeringly low. Those dogs are generally somewhat trained in the basics, they're housebroken, require less active attention, and they will share a boundless heart that will make it clear that they know what you saved them from. Mrs. Levine teamed with Gabrielle Amster, who served as the audio producer of their Homeless with a Pet project. With every photograph, Nora and Gabrielle recorded audio testimonials, asking their subjects to speak about their relationships with their pets. It was important to Nora to be authentic to the environment of the people she photographed. Quote, I just wanted to photograph them in areas where they spent the night, where they just hung out, and something that was significant to them. I didn't take them to a place that looked pretty for a photograph. She says that she photographed her subjects in alleyways, on the streets, or under bridges, and took the opportunity to tell her subjects about a local pet adoption center and the services they offered. Throughout the project, Mrs. Levine was struck by the diversity of the situations she encountered. She said that she thought she was most surprised by the fact there are many reasons that people are homeless, but their connection with their animals is a constant. I would like to suggest that you give some thought when you review her photographic homeless collection to the ease with which a dog finds contentment and love with the person who is offering it a home. Ask yourself, would a dog rather live with you in whatever your circumstances, or would he or she rather be the victim of euthanasia in just a few days? By illustrating the important connection between the homeless and their pets, Nora says she hopes to spread joy with these images. Homelessness, specifically, she says, is not a joyful subject matter, but there are many sides to unfortunate situations. Virtually every pet owner I have ever known agrees that what they received from their pets was far in excess of what they were giving. Visit Nora Levine's photo stream to view more of her photography. This is her website address. And remember, in Rancho Mirage, we reimburse for adoptions by residents up to $100 for each adopted shelter dog or cat. If you need a little more love in your life, this is your guaranteed way to get it. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Dana. And as we all know, especially if we are animal owners, the sweet little animals don't care what we look like. They don't care what we smell like. They don't care what we're wearing. They just want to be with us. And if you do have some room in your home, please don't hesitate. All the love is immeasurable. So thank you. Okay, Charlie, is there anything you wish to say?
No, that was it.
Okay. Ted, did you have a few words?
I did. This being Labor Day weekend, Labor Day started actually in 1882 and was a tribute to the working class. At that time, essentially hard labor. We celebrate the first Monday in September, designed to create a 3-day holiday weekend. The workers today, of course, are not as physical and much more technology driven. But it's this time to celebrate the fact that we live in a country of freedom and have the opportunity to work. It's a terrific weekend. It's generally the start of the football season. It's the start of school, the end of the summer. It's great holiday sales. It's one of the busiest travel weekends of the year, and of course, it's extremely important to be careful. The sheriffs have already said that they will have various checkpoints. Certainly don't drink and drive. But from a personal standpoint, and I'm sure the entire council wishes you a happy holiday and a wonderful Labor Day.
Thank you so much, Ted. All right, well, I do have a couple of comments myself about our library, our wonderful library, and I know that we have our library director, David Bryant, sitting in the audience, and he gave me some information that I was not aware of, and probably a lot of you out there are not aware of, because as the school year begins, I wanted to remind the parents and the students that Rancho Mirage Public Library has staff ready to assist with homework and research assignments. The library is open 56 hours each week, and it is always available online at ranchomiragelibrary.org. And the library's popular Walking with the Stars morning exercise program is still in existence, and it will continue on through September 29th. It's Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So bring your walking shoes and have a good time meeting people. Our seniors love the air-conditioned, low-impact morning walk in the library's community room, and they're always pleased to see other walkers with them. And finally, the library has had a great summer of events and science for children. So I'm happy to report that July saw over 972 volunteer hours contributed to our city library. That's the highest monthly total in the library's history. Volunteers make our city special and our library exceptional. So we thank all of the great people who give of their time, give of their money, give of their talents, and are always there to assist others in the library. So please don't hesitate to come in and enjoy a wonderful experience. Thank you so much. So now we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. Next is our consent calendar. And maybe before Randy goes into our consent calendar with its items, maybe we can find out if there's anyone that wishes to pull any items beforehand, either from the council or from our audience that would want to discuss any of these items. Okay, seeing none. Oh, here comes Cindy. Okay, so Brad, that's what you were premature about. All right, so Brad would like to pull item number 5 on the consent calendar. Okay, so before you come up, why don't we just wait, go ahead and we'll let our city manager, Randy, go through our consent calendar and tell us about some of these items.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The first item on your consent calendar is to waive full reading of the ordinances that are on the consent agenda. The item number 2 on your consent calendar is council acceptance for completion of the trash enclosures and recycling enclosures at the Ocotillo Apartments. Ocotillo Apartments are on the corner of Ocotillo and Sahara Road in the Rancho Mirage Cove. These apartments did not have adequate trash and recycling receptacles on site. Councilman Kite and our code staff had been receiving complaints for months from surrounding residents. People move in and out. Tends to be a lot of buildup of refuse and recyclables. We had worked for months with the property owner, all to no avail. Councilman Kite came up with the idea potentially we could use AB 939 recycling funds to build these enclosures. The receptacles have been built, and Sarah, if you can show a picture of them. We've had lots of compliments, and it's taken care of the trash problem. Code complaints have gone down, and we're very happy to see that these are now complete. So thank you to Sandra Johnson and to Randy Villegas, the project manager, and Councilman Kite for getting that project completed.
Best looking trash enclosures in the whole city.
Absolutely. True. Raises the bar. Item number 3 on your consent calendar is a new work toy for our hard-working public works staff. This is a request for council to approve the purchase of a 2014 Caterpillar 930K Tier 4 truck loader. And here's a picture of it. Since the council approved the piggybacking ordinance at your last meeting, it's allowed staff to purchase this product with other municipalities. In this case, it is the city of Tucson, I think, we're piggybacking on of their purchase process. The purchase price is $155,000 and includes a 3-year warranty, and Bruce Harry was able to save the city about $30,000 by piggybacking on with the city of Tucson. Our street maintenance crew will use this loader to address after-hour emergencies without delay, which has been an issue in the past, and also the loader will help our public works staff address blow sand problems that we've had on our streets. As you know, we had a pretty tough year blow sand wise. Item number 4 on your consent calendar is a request to purchase 4 solar-powered vehicle speed feedback signs. These would be placed in the Magnesia Falls Cove. It was requested by the Cove Homeowners Association and recommended for approval by the city's Traffic Safety Commission. These will be purchased for $28,000, and it will come from the license tax. 2 will be put on Mirage Road, and 2 will be placed on Indian Trail in the vicinity of Rancho Mirage Elementary School. Number 5, Madam Mayor, was pulled for discussion. Number 6, legislative briefings. There's nothing to report at this time. The League Conference is next week. You'll be attending that. Item number 7 are contracts. There are 2 contracts for speaker series coming up early next year. And number 8 are demands. And we're here to answer any questions on those.
Okay, thank you so much, Randy. As long as we have already pulled item number 5 and we have a request for someone to have some discussion on this item, Mr. Brad Anderson wants to speak on this item. So why don't you please come up to the microphone and tell us in what city you reside?
Hi, I'm Brad Anderson. I'm in the city of Rancho Mirage.
Okay, can you just lean into the microphone a little bit more?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to address or kind of do some find out some information about that number 5, the major retail centers. I understand that's 200,000 square feet center that this ordinance is going to apply to. Would that only be the river, or is there anything bigger in the city at this time? Do you know of that would apply to? Oh.
The city has several large commercial developments in the city. The intent of this ordinance introduction is to establish the security standards for major retail centers in the city now and in the future in the city to ensure the safety of residents and visitors.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know if that was this one complex or more than one, but I guess my concern would be that the expense that would go with the property owner or property owners of such a complex, because they would have to hire for time, if they're open 24 hours, a security officer or a security patrol, plus the vehicle, or lease that out, however they would do that. But that could be an enormous cost, and I would imagine a lot of complexes may want to share that cost, and I don't know if that's a factor that you would be considered to address if more than one, if say the river and that new complex, Hobby Lobby, or the one across the street, if they wanted to share security patrol, they could do that. And I noticed that you wanted to put security cameras into or mandate that. And I guess my concern is, I know it's for security, but I think if the home, or not the homeowner, but if the property owner wanted security, it's kind of, I would think, up to them if they want to have a plain clothes person or have the retailers themselves run that security. So that's my concern. It's just the cost that would, and I don't know if any other business in Rancho Mirage is 24-hour operation either. So I don't know. I read through it real quick, and I just thought, it could be done better, I guess, for other property owners.
Well, thank you so much for your thoughts.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, maybe we can have a motion to...
Randy has to explain what
Okay.
she hasn't read it yet.
Okay.
Well, sure.
Okay,
The ordinance is to establish the security standards for large commercial centers in Rancho Mirage and to make sure that the public is protected. We want to make sure that large commercial centers have on-site security. It's not a city cost, it's a requirement for the property owner to maintain the property in a first-class condition.
I'd just like to make one comment regarding the comment about plainclothes officers versus uniformed officers. Uniformed officers provide a deterrent, so that's why we have uniformed officers.
Thank you. Okay, any further comments? Any other comments from the audience?
Move we adopt the consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Okay, please cast your vote. come through? Okay. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to the public hearing items. Item number 9, and that will be presented to us by Randy Binder, our city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. This is Community Facilities District Number 1, Annexation Number 162, Sienna Vista Estates, being built by Ken Coakley in Section 30. This is recommended that the Council adopt the 3 resolutions in the staff report. The annexation is located on the southeast corner of Landy Lane and Victory Drive. The annexation area is 5.03 acres in size, 9 single-family lots, and will have an annual CFD revenue stream to the City of Rancho Mirage of $3,540. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any questions from council or comments? Seeing none. Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay. Well, public comments are now closed, so we will move on to a motion.
9-1.
We can do all 3 at one time, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I will go ahead and recommend that the City Council adopt the resolutions listed below, A, B, and C. Resolution A is number 2014, declaring the annexation of territory to an existing CFD and authorizing submittal of levy of special taxes to the qualified electors. Item B is resolution number 2014, submits a proposition to levy a tax to voters and sets forth certain procedural requirements relating to the required election. And C, resolution number 2014, declares the results of the election. You have a second? Yes. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, motion passes 5-0, and we have our city attorney, Steve Quintanilla, that would like to make a comment.
Yeah, I'd just like the council to know that my office is working with staff on streamlining this process. So the next ones you see are going to be a lot simpler. Basically, we're going to require that a petition be submitted by the property owner that waives all of these particular requirements that we normally have to follow, which is permitted under the Community Facilities District law. So
great.
It'll be an expedited process next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for filling us in. Sounds good. Okay, moving on to the action items. Item number 10, and that will be presented by Kim Malcolm Valenti. She is our Administrative Services Director, and welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Back in February, council approved resolution 2014-03 that initiated the process for several of our members of our staff to go through the process to secure Medicare coverage. We have 3 employees who have been here prior to April 1st, 1986. They've been continuously employed. These 3 folks asked whether or not council and the city would entertain looking into obtaining Medicare coverage for them. They have not paid into Medicare, and the city has not paid into Medicare on their behalf during their tenure. All employees who were hired April 1st or after 1986 now pay the mandated Medicare as well as the city. It's 1.45% for the employee as well as the employer. Part of PERS's process, PERS is the overseer to this benefit, requires the employees do a regular secret ballot election. We had the ballot election on July 17th. All 3 employees affirmed that they would like to be part of Medicare. The employees chose October 1st, 2013 as when they would like the Medicare benefit coverage to begin. They all agreed. This is, before you today, the last step in the process. By adopting this resolution and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement, it will be immediately sent up to PERS. who will then work with Social Security and the federal approval process and allow our employees then to become members and eligible for Medicare. We anticipate, fingers strongly crossed, and we have a very good contact up at CalPERS, that this will be finalized in December. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. Any questions from council? Okay, seeing none, any questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll now
I
close.
move that we adopt Resolution 2014 authorizing the execution of the application and agreement for Medicare-only coverage for eligible city employees.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And moving on to item number 11, who will be presented to us by Sean Smith, our Economic Development and Housing Manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. After its implementation in fall 2013, the Property Improvement Program was placed on hold in order to address concerns raised by the Commercial Development Subcommittee regarding various aspects of that program. As a result of several meetings with the subcommittee and council study session, a number of revisions to the components of the program are being recommended. The major recommended changes include the following: clarifying that the purpose of the program is to create significant improvement to substandard or non-conforming commercial properties. In other words, the condition of the property is important, as only those in substandard shape will qualify. Solar energy systems are being removed from the program as an eligible portion because of the implementation of the PACE program, which provides an ability for commercial businesses to place the cost of that onto their property tax bill. And for us to do that just doesn't make financial sense through our program. Monument signage is revised to provide eligible properties with a grant of up to $15,000 per sign, with any cost above that amount being the responsibility of the applicant. The prior grant provided up to $10,000, with any cost above that being shared between the city and the applicant on an 80-20 ratio. The grant amount for property improvements is being revised to provide a 50-50 ratio matching grant up to $50,000 for qualifying improvements. This is changed from the previous 80-20 ratio matching grant of up to $100,000. Language relative to project timeliness is being revised to indicate that projects must commence construction within 60 days from the date of the notice to proceed. Additionally, projects must commence substantial construction within 6 months from the date of funding approval by the city. And that concludes the summary of changes. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Any questions, Richard?
Sean, could you briefly discuss the funding for this, where the money comes from for this fund?
It comes from excess redevelopment bond proceeds.
And can you discuss the limitations of investing that money?
The difference between utilizing excess bond proceeds and money from our general fund, the major difference as it pertains to these projects is the triggering of prevailing wage, which in essence could increase the cost of a project by up to 30%. That's really the only difference for all intents and purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman, following up on Richard's point, I think Richard was trying to also get at the point that if this money that we have that emanated from the redevelopment agency, that this money, about $4.5 million, that if we don't spend it in this program that we've got, it's going to go over from our jurisdiction to the Oversight Committee. And in the meetings that we've had on the program, we've had discussions, and I'm not sure really where the City Council comes down on this. My view was this, and it may not be a view that you all agree with, but my view was that with respect to helping businesses in the city, primarily along the highway, the 111 corridor, that we were going to go from a maximum of $100,000 in assistance that was paid on an 80-20% ratio. In other words, we would contribute $100,000 to the refurbishment of some exterior facade, and the owner would have to put up $20,000. The committee recommendation is that we change it to 50-50 with the owner, that they have more skin in the game, so to speak, and that instead of giving private businesses in the community $100,000, that the maximum we would give them would be $50,000. So if this motion passes, we have reduced the maximum from 100 to 50,000, and we would have reduced the percentage of contribution from 80% of the total cost by the city to 50-50. I think one of the issues that we wrestled with is that if we don't spend that $4.5 million in the program that I've supported, reduces our commitment in this regard. But if we don't spend that $4.5 million, assuming we can find other businesses to do it, and we only have until
2016, no sooner than July 1st, 2016.
2000 what?
16.
16. So we only have another 2 years at the most anyway. And at the rate we've been going, we never would have spent it under any circumstances because we haven't had that many applications from people. But regardless of that and how much we would or would not have spent, do we prefer to go ahead and keep the program as it was in order to spend more of that money that we have been allotted? Or do we say, no, we're not going to spend more? That money won't disappear. It will go to other sources for governmental uses. Some believe that we should spend it if we have our hands on it, and some believes that unless it's justified, we shouldn't spend it, and we would decide on a case-by-case basis if it's justified. So I think that's kind of the issue that Richard was raising, and I've tried to present it objectively. I don't know that Richard and I had total agreement on the subject, and I wanted to make sure, Richard, you had every opportunity to raise any elements that haven't been raised yet.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Are people standing in line at the old PIP, or what do you think will happen if we pass this and go to the 80-20? Do you think there'll be less interest? And also, why is there no interest at even the 50-50? I can't understand that.
Well, we do have interest. We've got about 10 monument signs in the queue and 9 property improvement projects potentially in the queue. So because...
Well, the monument signs aren't affected by this, though. I mean, we're giving, what, 15,000?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. So going to the property improvement projects, we've got 9 in the queue that are essentially interested in it, but we haven't been holding any ongoing discussions with those until council took action on this item. So what we would do as staff is go back to those property owners or applicants and talk to them about the new revisions to the program and see if they're still interested.
Well, my point is, if they weren't interested at 50-50, wouldn't they be even less interested at 80-20? There's my point. And why would they not want to improve their property at the 50-50? What do they tell you?
Most of them tell me it's just a cost that they can't incur at this point in time.
So then it would be less likely that they would even pay any attention at the 80-20.
We have been doing it at 80-20, and they haven't been knocking on the door.
Yeah.
The 50-50 is what the suggestion is pursuant to this staff report.
One of the other aspects of this is to give it a year to see how the program works, and we can always go back and look at revising the program if we're not getting the demand or the need for the funds. It's hard to tell where people are going to come in, how much money they want to put up out of their own pocket to get city money. And that's what we're trying to look at here. But we really made the decision that it's going to be 50-50 initially, even though the 80-20 didn't drive a lot of people to us. At least it gives us an opportunity to offer the program again and see what comes out of it.
And Mr. Kite, if I might, we could even come back to the subcommittee sooner than that 1 year period due to the constraint, the time constraint on the use of funds. We could report back to the subcommittee in 6 months as to the level of interest we're receiving.
Okay, and to add a little bit more clarity so that people do understand fully, it is really matching funds. So the city would be putting up $50,000 maximum, but the business would also need to put up $50,000 to match the funds that we are providing.
This is to clarify that 50% level. If the amount of improvement was 150,000, the applicant would still only get 50,000. They wouldn't get 50% of the total. So at the 150 level, the property owner would put up 100, we would put up 50.
So 50 is the magic number.
Yes.
50 is the most.
Right.
50 is the most that the city would contribute, no matter how much the facade or additional work that some owner was going to do. This all stems from the issues that we discovered back in November of last year when we made a contribution to a restaurant owner for a facade of $77,000. It generated a lot of interest in the past election. And the question is, it's a philosophical question more than anything else, is how much assistance should a city give to a private business in the community, as much as we're interested in having good facades, but how much should we give, how much should we give? It's 100,000 now. 100? Yeah. 100,000 maximum now.
80-20.
80,000. Well, it could go up to 100 though, I think, if the cost went up. But anyway, 80 to 100,000. Or should we reduce it to 50,000, saying that's adequate for a gift to a private business in the community, whether it's for only for exterior. This does not change our policy with respect to interior redecoration, things of that nature. Nothing that we could do here today, except by amending the program, affects our stated position with respect to interiors. We don't give any community funds, public funds, for the redecoration or interior use. So the question is, do we want to have a $100,000 lid, or do we want to have a $50,000 lid? Do we want to do it at a 50-50 basis, or do we want to do it on an 80-20 basis? That's the issue.
Well, it still seems that we don't really know the interest of who's really interested, how many people are. Saying what Sean is saying, if we went and did a survey or took the next, how long would it take? 5 months, 6 months to go back and contact?
You couldn't even do it with a survey.
You could?
That wouldn't work, Councilman. The reason you couldn't is we've had the 80-20 program in effect for how many years? A number of years.
2013,
Right.
the program was established.
Okay. Since then, we've had, how many times have we given anybody money beside to the restaurant owner last year?
We had one project.
Forgetting facades, forgetting street monuments.
Right, yeah, correct. Only one project, that would be across the street, Dead Island.
So it's been around, people have known about it, staff has contacted people, staff has talked with people, and we couldn't even sell the program at 80-20.
Yeah.
Frankly. And philosophically, I think that's too much anyway. But I think at 50-50, we're going to have fewer participants, pretty obviously, if you can get fewer than one. yes, this money will revert. Where does the money revert to, Sean? And to what extent, and to what uses can that money be made after that?
The restrictions on its use would remain intact when the issue is that the control of the money goes to the centralized oversight board, which will be created at the county level. So each municipality that had a redevelopment agency at this point in time has an oversight board, an individual oversight board. Those will essentially disappear. There will be one oversight board for the county overseeing all of those successor agencies. And they will, in effect, have control over the use of those funds. The restriction on the funds would be one of two. They can either be used in the project area for their original intended purposes. They can't be used outside of the project area. They would have to be used within the boundaries of the former redevelopment project area, or they can be used to pay down debt. It's our assumption
Pay down county debt?
To pay down the debt for those bonds. And it's our assumption that the county would be much more interested in paying down debt because that in turn frees up money for the taxing entities involved.
Charlie, in regard to your question about will it work now when it didn't work in the past, we're really trying to help the average business person improve the look of their business. If there are no people out there, no businesses that want to do it, so be it. But we want to try and make the money available and let everybody know that there are changes in the program, and if they can use the money, it's available. If they can't use the money, we've tried to make it available, and we'll have to come back and try something else.
Yeah. Well, where I was going is, as a business owner on 111, I'm spending right now tearing out and re-landscaping, redoing the sign at my own expense, because it's in my best interest to have my property look the best it can. So where I'm coming from is, I can't get my head around why anybody on 111 who have had these businesses for years and own these properties wouldn't come up with whatever program we have offered them. I can't get my head around it.
Sure.
That's all.
Well,
there are a lot of businesses that don't have the matching funds.
Well, then are we spinning our wheels here? Either way? Should we just let it go back to the state or the county?
Well, we can spin our wheels, but it's only going to last for another 2 years. Right. And then our wheels stop spinning.
Okay.
When the money reverts to the county jurisdiction.
So in other words, if they don't want to take advantage of it, there's nothing we can do, but we have it out there for them to do.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I think it's a question of being aware of the program. You as a business owner and an active member in the chamber for many years, is it your opinion that conceivably there has not been more requests because the program is not publicized or that people are not aware of it? What is your consideration?
Well, when I was at the chamber and the chairman of the chamber, I know that predecessors there at the chamber and myself, they have gone to door and knocked on every door up and down that street. And they were just as
Charlie,
amazed.
speak into the microphone so we can hear you.
I'm sorry. I know that as part of the chamber for all the years, when the program came into effect, everybody, including the city and the chamber, went and knocked on doors and said, this is here. It's to beautify the city. And nothing. So to answer your question, have they been informed? I can't believe that nobody on that 111 corridor or in the sphere is not aware of this program by either the chamber or by the work that this staff has done.
Well, that's my point. In other words, this change then should not have any sort of a negative impact upon those people that have been sitting by the wayside. What I'm hearing is that they have been aware of it. We have had applications submitted. There has been no additional activity. We're still making available, only we're doing it on a basis that we think is more equitable from a city standpoint. So I think that, in essence, if I'm not mistaken, Mayor Pro Tem Hobart, that is the intent of the program. We still want to make it available, and we want to be fair both to the owner, the retail owner, and the city, and we think that this is balancing it properly.
Okay. Well, thank you all for all of your comments. I think that just the publicity of seeing this talked about here on our city council may get the attention of a number of people who wish to do some work on their business front and help our city become more beautiful, and maybe they will be motivated, and maybe now that the economy has changed a little bit, maybe they can find some funds and start beautifying things that have been delayed for the last few years. And I'm hopeful that that will make a difference, and just seeing us talk about it should make a difference. Richard?
I'd like to make a motion for...
Wait a second. We'd like to see if there's any public comments out there. Okay. We have Brad Anderson again.
I just want to inquire, would that include if somebody wanted to resurface a parking lot, or no? That would include that?
Sean, can you address that?
Sure, it would, but that improvement in and of itself probably would not qualify because the intent of the program is to provide a significant enhancement and improvement to the overall property, not to just one individual aspect of the property.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'm sorry. And it's just the 111 corridor, it's no other streets that would be affected by this in the city?
Sean?
Because the boundary of the former redevelopment project area essentially only includes a commercial stretch being Highway 111, and none other than, yes, it would essentially be Highway 111.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional? We have somebody coming down. Okay. Can you state your name and...
I'm Michael Patello from Walling's Desert Turtle. We put in a application for the PIP program.
Can you just speak a little slower and into the microphone?
Surely.
Thank you.
We put in an application for the PIP program. And I just had a question on the prevailing wage. Sean, does this matching funds have to be prevailing wage?
Yes.
Project?
Yes, it does.
So just to kind of do a little math, if I'm not if the city was able to approve a project for $100,000 and it costs 30% more to have that project done, so the property owner basically would be paying $50,000 for a project that he could get done for $70,000 if he didn't do it by prevailing wage. So he'd save himself about $20,000. Is that adequate math?
So for a $100,000 project, for ease of math, the prevailing wage, if you assume 30% increase in cost, gets you to $130,000. And because the cap is $50,000, the city would pay the $50,000, and then the applicant would pay $80,000. That would be the remainder.
Mm-hmm. So if they wanted to stay right at $100,000, just more or less, he would save himself around $25,000 on a $100,000 project. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Any additional public comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public comments and call for a motion.
I would move that the City Council adopt Resolution 2014 Next Gen Order approving the amended property improvement program.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And moving on to item number 12, and this will be addressed by Britt Wilson, our management analyst.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and Council. Before you today is the resolution at the recommendation of the city's Emergency Preparedness Commission to form a nonprofit, a 501c3. That will allow the Emergency Preparedness Commission to solicit potentially more and larger funds for their programs. Certainly one of their highlighted programs is the Race to Be Ready program. So the City Council agreed with that recommendation a couple months ago and directed staff to go ahead and prepare the documents in the next step of that, and those are attached to the staff report. It's a resolution and the attendant articles of incorporation and the bylaws. Those were prepared by the City Attorney's Office, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any technical questions. There are a couple of things that we will need from the Council. On page 12-14 under the Articles of Incorporation. So So page 12-14, there at the bottom of the page, Board of Directors, section number 2, the number. We would like to get the City Council's thoughts on the number of directors. I briefly talked with the City Attorney before the meeting, and we were thinking perhaps a total of 7. There would be the 2 City Council members and maybe 5 from the Emergency Preparedness Commission. So that's a question for you guys to decide what you all would like to do. The second part of that question is, do you want to have the Emergency Preparedness Commission submit applications and you appoint, or do you want them just to go ahead and self-appoint their own 5 members? The other item, and that would be it. And so if you agree with these rules, the bylaws, and the corporation, we would ask that you appoint 2 council members, as it is currently written, and tell us the total number of directors and how you'd like the Emergency Preparedness Commission to fulfill those director positions. I do notice that we have the chairwoman of the Emergency Preparedness Commission in the audience, Marcia Stein, if you have any questions of her. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much. And I believe Marcia would like to say a few words. And Marcia is coming down to the front, and she is a resident of Rancho Mirage.
Could you please move a little faster?
And she is moving a little slower because she has, for all those who cannot see, she has got a little brace on her knee. She's doing beautifully.
Our poor commission, we have a number of injured and ill people, so I'm so sorry. Hopefully we'll get that all solved before our next meeting in September. So I want to thank all of you for considering this. I also want to share some words before I say what I'm going to say from Megan Lee, who was one of the people that was chairing the Emergency Preparedness Commission's Race to Be Ready, along with her husband, Paul Kopsky, and she is not feeling well. So she asked me to please share some words from her. The Napa quake was a good reminder to all of us that it is not if, but when. As I listened to the news coverage, one lady's comment stood out to me. She said, "Our Emergency Preparedness Committee had us prepared. So the quake was scary, but we were ready for it." This is a goal of our EPC, to leave the residents of this valley ready to handle the uncomfortable situations that evolve after such an incident, such as no water or electricity for days. I wanted to thank the council and Madam Mayor for helping us to create this Emergency Preparedness Commission 501c3. The goal behind this is to create and to assist the Coachella Valley in preparedness. The city Rancho Mirage Race to Be Ready is looking forward to being the driving force in funding this charity, with the goal of educating, assisting the Valley in its ability to sustain itself through any emergency. And I think the importance of this, and I think Brett would agree, we had a little bit of a problem asking for money when it was only for Rancho Mirage, and this gives us the ability to share it in terms of emergency preparedness for the Coachella Valley. Some see us as maybe a little more elitist, and this would help some of the people who sponsored the Race to Be Ready to be more willing to be involved. So I want to thank Steve, our city attorney, for doing this. I also want to say, just personally, we have a wonderful commission. We have new people, and we're going to be doing some serious work to get them up to speed. We know the mobile home parks were seriously affected in this last quake in Napa. It was pretty scary to see that. So Claudia Fawcett, one of our commission members, is really working to make sure that all of our residents in mobile home parks are particularly prepared and ready. So, any questions?
I have a question I'd like to ask you. I don't quite understand why we're making this corporation, to read under purpose in Article 1, Section 2. It says the purpose of the corporation is to raise funds from the general public and other sources to do the following. 1, organize and conduct training for the general public. Are we not limiting our activities to Rancho Mirage?
That's correct. We never have. I mean, when we do the trainings that we do for CERT, it's for Rancho Mirage residents and others. So we've, in the past, that has been true. We'll continue to do that, just so people understand that we do care about the valley. And obviously it's for our residents, but hopefully we'll have enough money to be able to offer it to other people as well. And that's what really we're saying when we go to TV stations, radio stations, who want to make sure that if they give us significant sums of money, it's not just for Rancho Mirage. So
And this was
that
the
hasn't
big,
changed particularly.
This was the big backlash that we had.
It was a
People
serious
did say-
problem.
Yeah, that's the main point of this.
Right, that Rancho Mirage has plenty of money. And
Yeah,
unless
they would say, well, I'm not giving, if I'm in Palm Desert or I'm KMIR, I'm not going to give you money just for Rancho Mirage. It's got to
Right.
be for the whole Coachella Valley, and this is how this came about.
Thank you. As a former member of our commission, thank you, Charlie.
Britt, would you like to address some of this?
I would just add that that is correct. I think the genesis of this was we got a sponsorship from KMIR Television, and that was their big concern. They gave us approximately $75,000 worth of broadcast value, but they wanted to make certain that the race to be ready in this particular case was a value-add event available for everybody. So I think that was the genesis of this, and in my mind, what would happen is the EPC, the Emergency Preparedness Commission, has talked about using the money from Race to Be Ready and maybe putting on a CERT class, for example. So they would have to make that class available for anybody in the valley to come to, and presumably it would be a free CERT class. That is my understanding of it. I certainly don't propose that the nonprofit, buys, a fire truck or something for another city in the valley and gives it to them or anything like that. But they want to do training, emergency preparedness training, that sort of thing. So that was the genesis of this, that the people donating want to know that it's not just something for Rancho Mirage or Rancho Mirage residents.
Who
Yes,
is
thanks.
the one that appoints the directors to this?
Well, that's a good question. Mayor Smotrich?
The way it's drafted, City Council appoints the initial board of directors.
Yeah, but after that?
And after that, then...
Well, after that, it's got to be the city council. I can
after
tell.
that, it's at the city council's.
Where does it, just make sure, read it and tell me what you're...
Well, no, that's what we would, we do that, this is structured similar to the foundation, but not like the Writers' Festival. Because the Writers' Festival was actually created by private individuals, and they came for the city council's support, whereas the foundation, just like this organization, would be created by the city council. So the city council, as the incorporators and as the initial appointers of the board of directors, will be appointing those directors as similarly to how you appoint your commission members. But we will make sure that's clarified in here.
Where does it, what section are you going to clarify?
Brett, while the city attorney is looking this up, could you address the selection of the word alliance? Why? I mean, alliance, you normally think of 2 or 3 parties coming together as an alliance. Here you have a foundation designating itself as an alliance.
Yeah, there's no magic to that. The city attorney's office said they just had to pull a term to be able to put in here so you could change the name. There's certainly no legal ramifications or any other procedural issues. It could just be called the Rancho Mirage Emergency Foundation or anything that the council would like. But again, no magic to the word alliance. There's no legal ramifications.
I'd like to address that. We also agree that that's not perhaps the best name. And I think Steve said we could change that. Is that correct? Or the city council could change that?
The name.
Yeah, thank you.
Steve, can we eliminate the word alliance?
Oh, Alliance or Rancho Mirage?
No, Alliance.
Alliance, yes. Why don't I just do a quick presentation on the mechanics here
That
in the
sounds good.
process. Again, this is the recommendation at this point is that the city council serve as the incorporators of this nonprofit. And because the city will be, if the city chooses to do this, there are special provisions that we need to include in the bylaws, or there are special laws that will apply automatically to the nonprofit, such as all their meetings are going to have to comply with the Brown Act. They're subject to the Public Records Act, meaning that they have to maintain and have their records inspected as though they were city records. They'll have to comply with all of the standard audit requirements that the city is subject to. They will also be required to
adopt a conflict of interest policy, a whistleblower policy, and a records retention policy. So this makes it a little different than your standard nonprofit that's created by private individuals, because we have tax dollars that are going to be used to set it up and possibly run it. So what is being proposed now is that the City Council approve setting this up, and the proposed name is the Rancho Mirage Emergency Preparedness Alliance. But I've heard since I drafted this that there might be some concern with using the name Rancho Mirage in connection with this nonprofit, because folks out there who want to contribute money, such as KMIR, might think that this money is just limited for use by Rancho Mirage residents or just to the city of Rancho Mirage.
That's correct. It kind of would defeat the whole point of setting it up to start with, so I don't know how we deal with that.
So what it's called, it's up to the city council. You can call it anything. I just made this up myself. So that's one issue. So if you do adopt this resolution, I would suggest that you come up with a name. Now the initial purpose of this, as conveyed to me, was to create a nonprofit just for the sole purpose of raising money for conducting or putting on the Race to Be Ready event. However, my concern with that is that if you create what is called a single purpose nonprofit, you're only allowed to use the money you raise just for that single purpose. And you cannot provide any tax benefits for any contributions that are provided to the organization that are not going directly to that Race to Be Ready. So I just took a look at the city's website with respect to what the Emergency Preparedness Commission does, and I essentially just incorporated that information into the purpose for this particular corporation, and that is to raise money from the general public and other sources to organize, conduct community emergency response team training, the CERT training, for the general public, not just City of Rancho Mirage, organize and conduct emergency preparedness town hall forums, which you guys do, participate in local and regional emergency preparedness programs such as, but not limited to, the California Shakeout and the Race to Be Ready, which is an event that I understand was that our first event last year?
It was our first, yes.
That was the first. In the City of Rancho Mirage. So the issue that has come up in my mind is whether or not the council, like it did with the Writers Festival, is going to want to see this event be held only in Rancho Mirage, just the Race to Be Ready event. If
It
that's
will
going to
be.
be a signature event for the city,
Yes.
you may want to incorporate
It will
that
be. It will be
requirement.
in Rancho Mirage always. Absolutely.
And to also purchase goods, supplies, and equipment and retain services of vendors, consultants, and experts deemed necessary for promoting emergency preparedness. So it's pretty broad. Now, its principal office will be here in City Hall. There will be no members, and that just simplifies it. You can have members, but I usually recommend that you don't have any members, so you don't have to keep a track. You don't have to deal with all the accounting that comes with membership and having these huge meetings. The board of directors, right now, that's left blank. My recommendation for any board is always keep it an odd number. The proposal is to have a blank number of board of directors plus 2 council members who will have full voting rights.
They will have voting
They have
rights.
voting rights, just like the foundation, the library foundation, you'll have full voting rights. So again, I recommend that whatever that number ends up being, it should be an odd number. Now, as far as the council directors, the city council will appoint those directors. They'd be entitled to vote on anything. Let's see. Let me go in here. There will be an annual meeting, just like we have with the foundation. And at that annual meeting, that's when you select the officers of the board. They'll have regular meetings. They're going to be set by resolution. Let's see, special meetings, agendas, quorums, remote participation, those are all Brown Act requirements. You'll have to have at least a simple majority vote of the directors to approve any action. Let's see, what else is here? It's as far as officers, there's the proposal is that you have a president, vice president, a chairman. Well, actually, not. We can strike out chairman. President, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. See, the officers are elected annually by the board. The president of the board is just going to be like our mayor, be the presiding officer of the board. Now, let's see.
The other issue, the other issue that Mr. Hobart raises has to do with who appoints the directors. And I was incorrect. When I initially drafted this, I had the board of directors being initially appointed by the city council, which is still in here, but any vacancies after that would be appointed by the board of directors. And somewhere during one of these drafts, that got changed from city council to the board of directors. So if you want the council to continue being responsible for to appointing the directors, then we can change that in the bylaws.
And that would be, I think we're really going to have to come back a second time. That would require a change at section 6B on page 1215. Strike the word board, change it to city council. Then under resignation, section 7B, it says if a director resigns by giving notice specifying that such resignation shall be effective at a future time, a successor may be designated by the board, that should be council, shouldn't be the board, before such time to take office when the resignation becomes effective. Why are we doing a future effective date for a resignation instead of immediately and filled as soon as the council gets around to it? I don't understand that paragraph at all.
If a director resigns by giving notice specifying the successor. This is just saying that a director can resign immediately, or they can resign at a future date. And this is just saying that the council or whoever's going to be appointing to the director to fill that seat does that at the time that the resignation takes effect.
What's the point?
We just don't want, we don't want a gap.
I mean, a quorum's the only reason I could think of. What's a quorum? It's
a majority.
4 people?
It'll be a majority of whatever number you appoint.
You know, in my opinion, I don't think that this is the forum to redraft the agreement. I think that we should take our time and look it over. I have certain questions and concerns about it. For example, I don't know the degree of analysis that's been taken place up to this point as to how much overhead or time the city is going to be required to administer this. If we, in fact, are going to be raising funds under the auspices of the name of Rancho Mirage, even though the name won't be there, then there's a certain fiduciary responsibility, and I would want to know how those funds are going to be basically administered. I would feel uncomfortable if there was anyone less than one council member that basically approved the disbursement of any funds. So my point is that when I look this over, I can tell you right now from a personal standpoint, I'm not ready to sign off on it until I have an opportunity to see the revisions and have some of these things resolved, which have not been, as far as I'm concerned, up to this point.
And along those same lines, the Articles of Incorporation indicate it's Rancho Mirage Emergency Preparedness Alliance. What happens if the board president would like to go to a conference in Alaska or New York City or somewhere? Whose responsibility is it for him to or her to do to pay for that? I mean, if this is going to be a group that expands beyond the boundaries of Rancho Mirage, it concerns me as to what expenses, as Ted just mentioned, it concerns me as to the expenses that the city would be expected to bear, since it's the Rancho Mirage Emergency Preparedness Alliance. And I share the feeling that I think we've got to get a couple of meetings where we're all together and get some answers to these questions, because frankly, I don't think it's Rancho Mirage's responsibility to finance the emergency preparedness for the valley. It's a tough enough job to try to do it for our city.
Well, the money that would be in there, though, is money that's raised specifically and will go into this fund. It's not any money from you. It will be money that we've raised through the events that we have. So,
Well, then perhaps what we should have a clause in here that says that for business expenditures related to this that are not clearly the city's responsibility, that are the type of an expense that you may choose to do as compared to have to do, who's going to fund that? I think there should be some explanation in here that ensures that the city doesn't end up being responsible for some stuff that they never intended to be responsible. As a commission, we know what our obligations are. Yep. This now expands it beyond our borders with respect to contact and influence. And it's a little scary to do that because you don't know what the money's going to be. True. What the money issues are going to be. And that takes a little bit of genuine thought.
clarification, but the money that will be in this fund is strictly money raised by the EPC. It certainly wouldn't involve money from the city council. Now, last year you did give us some seed money. We won't need that again.
Well, and that's fine, but that should be spelled out
Okay.
in the rules, and it's not. So why don't we, I'd second Ted's motion to continue the matter for additional work on the bylaws and to reschedule it as quickly as possible. We can reschedule it for the end of September, October, something like that.
Marcia, what is your timeline on
Well,
the next
that's
race?
problematic because even though the race isn't until March, we need to start right away fundraising.
But you can do that as a commission.
Well, that's the problem, going after the kind of money we're talking about. They wanted a 501c3. That was the whole point of doing this, so I see that as a little bit problematic.
So, Marcia, what you're really saying is we're just raising the money for the race to be ready.
Well, right now, obviously, there'll be other things. When we get enough money in that pot, we can use it for other things. But right now, the money that we're going to be raising will come out of Race to Be Ready, and that will go into this pot, so to speak. And at some point, we can then use it for other things.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm
you
sure
do
there'll be lots of
understand
other
what Dean
things.
is saying. I mean, he really needs to, we have to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, if I may, perhaps this would go to one of the council subcommittees, public safety or something, before it comes back to the council. That way we could flesh out some of the details of the bylaws, if that's acceptable to the council and the city attorney.
I think that might be a good idea. And I think at this time, Stephen can rewrite certain parts of it, and we can deal with some of these different issues. And I think we need to realize that the reason this all came about is because, unbeknownst to us, last year, which was the first year,
right,
this Race to Be Ready was so successful that the commission ended up with $8,000 in its pot. And we realized that our outreach to all these different entities, where they were so excited about the race, they were so excited to participate, but they said, we want to make sure that if we're going to give to you, that maybe you could use some of this money that you profit by and maybe put on some Red Cross classes for the Coachella Valley in general, and maybe you could reach out to other communities since you are so successful with what you are doing. So I think that's why this all came about.
Right.
But I think it needs to be addressed on a more detailed level, and I think that's something that Steve will work with perhaps the subcommittee of the safety.
I actually think I think you should form a separate subcommittee for this issue. I don't think that would fall into the safety category.
It's got a lot of legal stuff in it, a lot of legalistic stuff beyond public safety. I agree.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about it. And while that's going on, I would ask the city manager to do some analysis for us as to exactly what the cost would be to the city to administer this kind of a program. But I would, my motion would be to table it and to form a separate subcommittee to analyze and come up with an agreement and a recommendation to the city council when that work is done.
Okay.
I would second that.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. Any comments from the audience before we vote?
I just wanted to add, I hope this doesn't take too long, only because of the time frame. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we do have one person from the audience that would like to say a few words. Welcome, and please introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
My name is Mary Lou Suter, and I'm a resident of Rancho Mirage. And I'm also a commissioner. I serve on the Emergency Preparedness Commission. And I just wanted to point out that I believe that this race has a potential to become something regional, perhaps statewide, and perhaps larger. That communities generally lack emergency preparedness skills because they don't have adequate funding to do that, typically. This provides a venue for that, and it's a venue that's of great interest to the populations of the communities. I think it's a gem. I think it's a gem. So as you approach this, I hope you have that larger view in mind. And also I wanted to suggest, I'm looking at our beautiful city council chambers. Something like a Bighorn emergency preparedness would retain the Rancho Mirage identity, but still allow it to be used throughout the valley. So that's just simply a suggestion. And I thank you. Thank you very much.
Mary, you know that our concern is just that if it did expand regionally or broader, that we have to know
absolutely
who's responsible financially for what and where our obligations end.
Absolutely. So to be specific about that, but still allow the bylaws to be amended if needed.
Sure.
If there's an interest to do that. I understand totally, and I'm glad the city's protecting itself. It makes absolute sense to me as well.
I do have one comment.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
All right.
the city certainly is 100% behind the very noble cause that is trying to be accomplished here.
Okay. Steve?
I think that there's a motion and a second on the floor.
I'd just like to make just one comment, just for the record, that contributions to cities and public agencies and contributions to nonprofits are both tax deductible. But I know that there are some organizations that prefer to give to a 501c3, but they are tax deductible.
Okay. So at this point, I believe we are going to be tabling the item and have some work done on it by our city manager, Randy, and see what direction we're going to be heading and get back to everyone. So I thank you so much, Marcia. And why don't we have a vote? Yes, Richard, would you like to make another comment?
I'd like to vote.
Oh, well, let's do it.
I'm with him.
All right, we have a motion and a second, so let's vote. All right. Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just a clarification, did you want to appoint council members now for this committee, or how did you want to do that? Because otherwise...
I think we'll just all think about this and wait for Randy to come back with his numbers and ideas, and we'll just table the whole thing for right now. Thank you so much. All right. Moving on to item number 13, and that is going to be addressed by Isaiah Hagerman, our Finance Director.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The resolution before you today is approving and adopting a recognized obligation payment schedule, also referred to as the ROPS schedule, and administrative budget for the period of January 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2015. This ROPS is called ROPS 1415B because it covers the second half of the fiscal year 1415. With the dissolution of redevelopment agencies, the city, acting as the successor agency to the former redevelopment agency, is charged with winding down the affairs of the former redevelopment agency. Every 6 months, the successor agency is required to submit a ROPS budget schedule for approval by the successor agency board, which is City Council, and also by the Oversight Board, and also by the California Department of Finance. The ROPS 1415B is attached to my staff report along with the resolution. If approved today, it will go to the Oversight Board on September 9th, 2014. And then after approval by the Oversight Board, it will be submitted to the California Department of Finance by its due date of October 3rd, 2014. The major change or the major highlights are noted on 13-2 of the staff report. As you saw with ROPS 1415A, this ROPS 1415B continues the identification of $30 million in bond proceeds and the projects that have been allocated to be funded with those bond proceeds. We are estimating approximately $10 million of those bond proceeds will be spent during this period. And there was one new addition to this ROPS, and that was the Rancho Mirage Community Park Expansion Project. So with the retriggering of the funding, part of the project will be funded from these RDA bond proceeds. And what you'll see is this schedule really is the budget that we set out for using our RDA bond proceeds. On this list is the property improvement program and the money that was set aside for that in addition to the other projects. Currently, we have tried to allocate the use of all these funds to earmark them before we change over to a countywide oversight board. And we have designated more projects than what we have funding in an effort to try to spend this money here locally. And with that, I am available for questions.
Okay. Any questions from council? Richard?
But on page 1312, item number 15, it's noted as San Jacinto Villas, approximately $5 million. Is that for something specific?
Yes, so this part of the schedule that you're referring to, Councilman, is our reconciliation of a prior ROPS period. So this covers ROPS 1314B and what we put on our schedule compared to what we actually spent. So that $5 million that you see right there for San Jacinto Villas, those were construction costs of San Jacinto Villas that were never reimbursed out of bond proceeds because the bond proceeds were not in a liquid state at the time when the expenditure happened. So that's why there's such a big disconnect between the expenditure of the construction cost and then the reimbursement from bond proceeds. Staff discovered during the dissolution process that that reimbursement was never made, and it was delayed due to certain triggers in the law that basically said you have to meet these other requirements before you can reimburse yourself for these costs. So we kind of had the extra hurdle of the funds were not available prior to the dissolution of RDAs, and then the dissolution law came into effect, and we could not process this reimbursement until we met other triggers under the law.
So is that $5 million coming back to the general fund?
No, that $5 million reimbursed our housing authority. So the housing authority is the one that fronts the cost on all of our low and moderate income housing units. It was the same for the construction of San Jacinto Villas. So that $5 million actually went back to the housing authority.
And it's there now?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for consideration of resolution number 2014-SA, approving and adopting a recognized obligation payment schedule and administrative budget for January 1, 2015 through June 30, 2015, ROPS 14-15B, pursuant to AB 26x1 and AB 1484.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. All right, we will be moving on now to Steve Quintanilla for our closed session information.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Housing Authority now is going to recess into closed session to confer with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation involving an unknown number of potential cases pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think we're finished, so thank you for attending, and we hope to see you next time. Have a good evening. We are now adjourned.